Your life, on paper, is fine. You have the job, or you're getting there. You have the people, the roof, the routine. Nobody looking at you would say anything is wrong. And that's the part that gets you. Because nothing is wrong, and you still feel like this. You get up. You do the day. You answer the messages. You show up where you said you'd show up. And somewhere underneath all of it, there's a flatness you can't point to. Not sadness. Sadness would at least be something. This is quieter than that. This is the feeling of watching your own life happen through a window. So here's the question you've never actually let yourself ask. Not what's wrong with me. You ask that one all the time, and it goes nowhere. The real one is harder. What if the numbness isn't the thing that's broken? What if it's the thing that's been protecting you, and it's working exactly the way you built it to? Sit with that, because it turns everything around. You've been trying to fix the flatness for years, push through it, outrun it, wait it out, but you don't spend years maintaining something that's broken. You maintain something that works, which means the numbness was never a malfunction. It's a wall. You built it. And you've forgotten you're the one holding it up. There was a man, 100 years ago, who sat in a room with people who had exactly what you have. Good lives, nothing diagnosably wrong, and a hollowness none of them could name. And he noticed something nobody had said out loud before, that the emptiest people in front of him weren't the ones who'd lived too little. They were the ones who'd spent their whole lives not feeling something, and had gotten so good at it they couldn't name what it was, or when it started, or why it stayed. He mapped 10 of them. By the last one, you're going to be standing at a door you've kept shut your whole life, and you're going to know exactly what's behind it. Rule 1. Nothing is wrong. That's exactly the problem. A third of the people who came to Jung weren't sick. They just felt their lives had gone empty and senseless. He saw it so often he gave it a name, the quiet sickness of our time. You've tried to explain the flatness to yourself, and the explanation never holds, because every reason you reach for sounds ungrateful. What do you have to feel empty about? Look at everything. Look how fine it all is. So you stop trying to explain it. You decide it's just you. This is just what you're like now. Here's the thing nobody says. He noticed there were so many people like you that it couldn't be a personal defect. It was something happening to a certain kind of person, the kind who'd done everything right and felt nothing at the end of it. So the flatness isn't proof that something's broken in you. It's the opposite. It's the most honest signal you've got, and you've been treating the one true thing in the room like it's the problem to get rid of. You keep waiting to feel bad enough to take it seriously. The flatness was the signal. You've just been calling it nothing. Rule 2. The feelings didn't leave. They went quiet. Jung had a line about this, that the parts of yourself you never face and never feel are where the suffering actually comes from. Not the feeling. The not feeling. At some point, the volume on everything came down, and you've been living at low volume so long you forgot there was a dial. Here's what you tell yourself. The feelings are gone. You used to be someone who felt things hard, who cried at things, who got furious, who wanted things badly enough to be embarrassed about it. And somewhere that person got quiet, and you figure that's just age or tiredness. You think the feelings left. They didn't leave. Nothing leaves. You don't get to delete a feeling. You can only stop looking at it. And a feeling you've stopped looking at doesn't evaporate. It goes underground and it keeps running. The way a noise you've tuned out is still a noise. You stopped hearing it. It never stopped sounding. You can tell it's still down there by how it leaks. The flash of irritation that's too big for the thing that caused it. The tears that show up at a commercial when they never show up at your own life. The exhaustion that sleep doesn't touch. That's everything you stopped feeling. Still in there, still full, looking for the gap in the floorboards. And here's the part you haven't let yourself sit with. Holding the lid on years of unfelt things. Takes everything you've got. You think you're tired because life is tiring. You're tired because you're carrying a room full of feeling you've decided never to open every single day, and you called that flatness rest. You think you stopped feeling. You didn't. You just started spending all your energy making sure you don't. Rule 3. You learned this. Somewhere, it stopped being safe to feel. Jung said it plainly, we'd rather do almost anything than turn around and look at what's actually inside us. There's usually a reason we learn to look away. Nobody is born like this. A kid feels everything, out loud with their whole body, joy, rage, grief, no lid, no filter. You were that once. So the flatness isn't who you are. It's something you learned. And things you learn for a reason. Somewhere back there, feeling things got expensive. Maybe there was a house where big feelings weren't safe to have, where being upset got you punished or ignored or made someone else's day worse, so you learned to swallow it. Maybe nobody did anything cruel at all. Maybe you just figured out early that the adults around you couldn't hold your feelings, so you stopped handing them over. Maybe it was one specific thing that hurt so much that feeling it fully would have taken you under. So some quiet part of you made a decision. We're not doing that again. And here's what I want you to actually hear. It worked. Turning the volume down wasn't a malfunction. It was the smartest thing available to you at the time. It got you through the house, the year, the thing you couldn't afford to feel. A kid who can't change anything around them changes the only thing they can reach, which is how much they let themselves feel. And you reached for that dial, because it was the one thing in the room you had control over. So when you call yourself broken now, you've got it backwards. You're not looking at damage, you're looking at a solution, one you built when you were too small to have any other, that was so good at its job you never had to think about it again. And it's still running, decades later, long after the danger it was built for is gone. You keep asking what's wrong with you. The better question is how young you were when not feeling became the safest thing you could do. Rule 4. You got so good at this, you forgot you were doing it. Jung talked about the masks we wear for the world, and how the danger isn't wearing one, it's wearing it so long you forget it's a mask and start to think it's your face. Anything you do enough times stops feeling like a thing you do. It just becomes how you are. You did that with not feeling. In the beginning, it took effort. There was a moment, back when you were learning this, where you had to actively push something down. You felt it rising and you made yourself swallow it, and you knew you were doing it. It cost you something each time. You could feel the lid going on. You can't feel the lid anymore. Not because it came off, because you got so good at putting it on that it happens before you even notice there was something to put a lid on. The feeling starts, and somewhere underneath your own awareness a hand reaches up and turns it down, and by the time it reaches you, it's already flat. You don't suppress your feelings now. You don't have to. The system runs itself. This is why you can't find the off switch. People keep telling you to just open up, just feel your feelings, just be more present, like it's a choice you're refusing to make. But you're not refusing anything. You're not even in the room when the decision gets made. The numbing got automatic so long ago that it isn't a behavior anymore. It's a reflex, and you can't talk yourself out of a reflex by deciding to. And here's the quiet cost of being this good at it. You stopped being able to tell the difference between you and the thing you do. I'm just not an emotional person. I'm just logical. I don't really get worked up about stuff. You say it like it's your personality. It was never your personality. It's a skill you practice so well it started wearing your name. You think this is who you are. It's just what you got good at. And the thing about a skill is, you can stop using it. Rule 5. The life you didn't live is still in the room. Jung said nothing presses on a person harder than the unlived life, the version of themselves they set down and walked away from. It doesn't. Leave when you stop looking at it. It sits in the corner of every room you're in. There's a person you were supposed to become and didn't. Not in a dramatic way. You didn't blow up your life or miss some single great destiny. It's quieter than that. There were things you wanted, a way of living, a kind of work, a person, a place, a version of yourself that felt like the real one, and one by one you set them down. Sensible reasons, every time, money, timing, what people would think, the fact that wanting it that badly felt dangerous. So you put each one down, and you told yourself you were being mature. Maybe you were. But the things you didn't live don't disappear. They don't dissolve because you stopped reaching for them. They go quiet and they stay, the way an unsent letter stays in a drawer. And every so often, in a flat moment you can't explain, you feel the weight of the whole drawer. That ache you get watching someone else do the thing you almost did. That strange grief on a Sunday evening for no reason. The restlessness that shows up right when everything is supposedly fine. That's the unlived life knocking. That's the person you set down, still in the room, asking why you left. And the cruelest part is what it does when you won't look at it. It doesn't sit there politely. It leaks into how you treat the people around you, the resentment you can't quite source, the way you push your own abandoned dreams onto your kids or your partner, the quiet bitterness toward people who didn't set theirs down. What you wouldn't live, you make everyone near you carry a little of. You think the emptiness is about what's missing now. A lot of it is about who you stopped becoming, and that person never actually left. Stop here for a second. Everything up to this point has been about the wall, how it got built, what it cost you, and what you've been carrying without knowing it. That's the heavy half. That's the part most people won't sit with. What's left is different. The next 5 rules aren't about what the numbness took from you. They're about what it's been trying to tell you, and why that matters more than anything you've tried to fix so far. Stay with it. Rule 6. You keep looking out there for something that's only in here. Jung put it in 7 words. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. You've spent years looking outside. Every time the flatness gets loud, you reach for something out there to fix it. A new job, a new city, a new relationship, or a new problem inside the old one. A renovation, a trip, a goal, a body you're going to get. A version of your life that's finally arranged correctly, where the rooms are right and the people are right and the calendar is right, and then you'll feel like yourself again. You work hard at this. You're always rearranging the furniture of your life, certain that this time the arrangement is the thing. And it works, for about a week. The new thing arrives, and there's a hit of something, a flicker. The volume comes up for a few days. Then, the needle settles back exactly where it was, and you're standing in the new job or the new city or the new relationship, feeling the exact same flatness you were trying to outrun. And some tired part of you already knows you're going to start scanning for the next thing. You've done this enough times to have the data. If the answer were out there, one of those fixes would have held by now. One of them would have stuck. None of them stuck. That's not bad luck, and it's not that you picked wrong every time. It's that you keep going outside to look for something that was never outside. The flatness was never asking you to change your circumstances. It was asking you to turn around and look at the one place you will not look, inward, at the thing you've been managing instead of feeling. But inward is the one direction the scanning never goes. It's easier to move to a new city than to sit still in a quiet room with yourself. Some part of you knows that, which is exactly why the suitcase is always half-packed. Every fix you've ever reached for was out there. The thing that's actually flat is in here. You've been searching the whole house except the one locked room. Rule 7. The emptiness isn't the enemy. It's the messenger. Jung's line was blunt. A person cannot stand a meaningless life. The emptiness you're trying to kill isn't the disease. It's the part of you that still knows the difference. You've been treating the flatness like an enemy, a malfunction to fix, a symptom to push through, something gone wrong that you need to make go away so you can get back to normal. Turn that all the way around. The emptiness is the healthiest thing about you. Think about what it actually is. The part of you that refuses to pretend a half-lived life is a full one. The one piece of you that didn't get numb, that kept its standards, that still knows the difference between existing and being alive, and is registering every single day that you've been settling for the first one. That's not sickness. That's the last honest instrument on the dashboard, and it's reading low because the tank is actually low. If you truly didn't care, if you were really the flat, unbothered person you've been telling everyone you are, you wouldn't feel empty. Empty requires a measuring stick. You can only feel the absence of something if some part of you still knows what its presence would feel like, and still wants it. The ache is proof the wanting survived. The emptiness is your aliveness, still in there, filing a complaint. So every time you've tried to numb the emptiness harder, drown it, outrun it, push it down with work or scrolling or another goal, you've been trying to kill the messenger because you don't want to read the message. And the message has been the same the whole time, patient, not going anywhere. This isn't enough, and you know it, and you're allowed to want more than this. You've been trying to get rid of the emptiness for years. It was the only part of you still telling the truth. Rule 8. What you keep in the dark doesn't stay there. Jung said the best way to handle the darkness in other people is to know your own. The corner of yourself you refuse to look at doesn't go dark and quiet. It runs your life from where you can't see it. There's a part of you you've decided is not allowed. We all have one. The anger you think is ugly, the need you think is weak, the grief you think is too much, the want you think is shameful. Early on, you learned which parts of you got you in trouble or got you left, and you took those parts and put them in the dark and shut the door, and you built a whole presentable self out of what was left. But a thing in the dark isn't a thing that's gone. It's a thing you can no longer see, which means it's a thing you can no longer steer. And it doesn't sit quietly behind that door. It runs the house through the walls. Watch where it leaks. The thing you can't stand in other people, the neediness, the arrogance, the messiness, the weakness, that flash of contempt is almost always pointed at the exact thing you exiled in yourself. You're not judging them. You're judging the part of you locked up every time it walks past wearing someone else's face. The people who irritate you most are carrying your own dark around in plain sight, and you hate them for being allowed to. And here's how it ties back to the flatness. Holding that door shut is a full-time job. You can't lock up one room of yourself and leave the rest of the house lit. It doesn't work that way. The same hand that keeps the anger down keeps the joy down. The same lid that holds the grief holds the love. You went into the dark to bury the parts you couldn't allow, and you came back numb because you can't deaden one half of yourself and leave the other half awake. You called it keeping yourself in check. What it cost you was the lights in every other room. You think you buried the parts of you that were too much. You buried the parts that were too alive and called the silence afterward being fine. Rule 9. Most of what you feel is easier than the one thing you won't. Jung had a hard line about this. Neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. The anxiety, the restlessness, the noise in your head, it's the thing you took on instead of the real pain underneath. You're not actually numb across the board. Look closely and you feel plenty. It's just that what you feel is almost always the manageable version, the decoy. The feeling that runs in circles and never reaches the bottom. The free-floating anxiety with no single source, the low hum of dread, the overthinking that loops the same 5 thoughts at 2 a.m., the irritation, the boredom, the restlessness, the vague guilt. You feel all of that, constantly. What you've arranged without meaning to is a full inner life made entirely of substitute feelings, feelings that hurt enough to keep you busy, but never enough to make you look at the actual thing. Because there's an actual thing. Underneath the manageable noise, there's one real grief, or one real fear, or one real piece of pain that's specific and has a name and a date, and it's heavier than all the static combined. Some part of you decided, a long time ago, that the static is survivable, and the real thing is not. So you took on the anxiety. You took on the restlessness. You signed up for a lifetime of low-grade suffering on purpose because diffuse pain that never resolves felt safer than one sharp pain you'd have to feel all the way through. That's the trade you've been running. Not numbness instead of feeling, manageable feeling instead of unbearable feeling. 1,000 small leaks so you never have to open the one valve that scares you. And it half works. The way all of this half works. It keeps you from the bottom, and it keeps you exhausted, and it never once lets you heal. Rule 10. You still haven't asked the only question that matters. Jung's whole work pointed at one terrifying act, to look at yourself completely and accept what you find. You've read 9 rules walking around the edge of it. Here it is. Look at what we've actually said. The flatness isn't nothing. It's a signal. The feelings didn't leave. You're holding them down. You learned to do that, Jung, because it kept you safe. You got so good at it that it runs without you, and you mistook it for your personality. The life you didn't live is still in the room. You keep looking outside for what's only inside. The emptiness is the last honest part of you. What you locked in the dark runs your life and took the lights with it, and the noise you live in is the decoy you took on instead of the one real thing. 9 rules. And you've nodded along to all of them, because some part of you already knew all of it. None of it is news to you. Recognizing the mechanism was never the hard part. Here's the hard part. The question you've walked around your entire life. The one every one of these rules was quietly circling, the one you've never once let yourself finish out loud. What would you have to feel if you let it lift? Not how to fix the numbness, not where it came from, not what it's costing you. You can answer all of those from a safe distance. This one, you can't. Because somewhere under all of it, there's a specific feeling, a grief, a rage, a wanting, a name that you built this entire quiet life to avoid. The numbness was never the problem. The numbness was the wall. And you've spent years trying to fix the wall, repair it, understand it, when the wall was doing exactly what you built it to do, keep you from feeling the one thing on the other side of it. I'm not going to tell you to tear it down. You built it when you needed it, and a wall like that doesn't come down on a stranger's say-so, or in one video, or all at once. That's not the work here. The work is smaller and harder than that. It's just to finally turn around and ask yourself, honestly, what's been standing behind it the whole time? You've spent years trying to fix the emptiness. You never once asked what you'd have to feel if it actually lifted. Ask now. That's the 10. You came here because something feels flat and you wanted to know what's wrong with you. The answer is, nothing's wrong with you. You're not broken. You're protected by something you built so well and so long ago that you forgot you were the one who built it. You don't have to do anything with this today. You don't have to take the wall down. You just have to stop calling it the enemy and start being curious about what it's been guarding. That's it. That's the whole turn. Everything else follows from there. If you felt something shift, there's a next door. The video in the comments goes into the part of you that's been living behind the wall. That one's worth watching alone.